I'm Saumya. Thanks for watching. So, season 8 of Game of Thrones has finally begun. The series is going to come to an end with the end of the season, much to the dismay of the fans all around the world. So, Game of Thrones is a story of a lot of powerful people fighting for the Iron Throne through which they can rule the Seven Kingdoms. And people, both readers and the viewers, love it because the story is extremely engaging and there are a lot of twists and turns and everything under the sun is happening in the series, and everything is fair in love and war is something that gets proved in this series time and again. Well, over the course of my channel and over the course of different videos that I've posted, I've received quite a lot of comments related to Game of Thrones, and these are basically two kinds of comments mostly: whether you should go for the series or whether you should go for the book. And the second kind of comments is from people who want to get into the books because they are so lengthy and they're so thick, so they want to know how to go about reading these books, because I have read all the 7 books so far. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Now, to answer the question of whether you should go for the books or should you go for the TV series, well, the TV series is going on right now. 8th season is running, and with this season the series will conclude. But if you want to go for the books, these are the books that you have to read, and these are 7 books in total. Let me tell you right now, because this is something that a lot of people ask me, I did not buy these books as a box set. I got them one by one. Also, I got all of them from Amazon. There are 2 more books that are going to come out, and the readers don't know when those books are going to come out. It has been years. I remember that I had finished reading these 7 books in 2017, and at that time I had heard that the next book in this series, which is called Winds of Winter, was supposed to come out, and it has been so long since then, and no trace and no clue about when it might come out. And another book is supposed to follow Winds of Winter, which is called A Dream of Spring, and we don't know about that either. So there are quite a few differences between the TV series and the book series. Firstly, the TV series is called the Game of Thrones series, whereas the book series is called A Song of Ice and Fire series. In case of these books, only the first book is called A Game of Thrones. Rest of the books have different names. And another difference that I feel I can share with you is the age groups of the characters, the protagonists in the story. A lot of the characters that you see in the TV series are a lot younger in the books. Like, for example, Daenerys Targaryen is only 13 or 14 years old when the story starts. But when you watch the TV series, you can see that she's a proper young woman. She's not even close to being a 13 or a 14-year-old. There is a lot of gore and a lot of carnage that takes place in the story. In the book, it is far more graphic because George R.R. Martin describes just how those organs are coming out and how people are dying, and all that kind of gory stuff is described quite graphically in these books. Other changes are basically how some scenarios have been oversimplified. Their backstory was not shown in the TV series, while there are other things like some scenarios were kept same on the whole, but the way those scenarios came about in the series is different from how they happened in the books. All the books in this series have been written with multiple point of views. So in these books you get to read the point of views of the characters, and that does not happen in the TV series, of course. And finally, the story also deviates in the TV series from the books, and I suppose the reason for that is that the series is supposed to reach a conclusion in this season. If they had followed the storyline of these books, the series wouldn't be reaching its conclusion. I guess they realized, just like us readers did, that George R.R. Martin is not coming out with the next 2 books anytime soon, so they obviously had to change the story according to their own script. So ultimately, I feel between the question of whether to go for the books or the TV series, ideally I think you should go for both of them if you can, because they both are quite engaging and the stories, as I told you, deviate from each other, so you will get something new in each of the books as well as the TV series. And finally, if you are somebody who has neither watched the TV series or read the book series, I will say that if you have the tendency to get offended quite easily, or if you have the tendency to get shocked quite easily, then you might want to stay away from this story altogether, because a lot of questionable things keep happening, because that is what the storyline is like. Now, as somebody who has read all these 7 books so far in A Song of Ice and Fire series, I'm going to tell you guys how I went about reading these books, in case you are somebody who wants to get into these books but is too intimidated by looking at the size. So let me just show you which all books are there in the Song of Ice and Fire series. The first book is called Game of Thrones. The second one is called A Clash of Kings. The third book is actually divided in 2 parts. It's called A Storm of Swords. The first part is called A Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow, and the second part is called A Storm of Swords, Blood and Gold. The fourth book is A Feast for Crows. And the fifth book is again divided in 2 parts. It's called A Dance with Dragons. A Dance with Dragons, Dreams and Dust is the first part, and A Dance with Dragons After the Feast is the second part. The one thing that I did was that I did not read all these books during the same month, because that would have been too much and that would have been an overdose. So I used to read only one book from A Song of Ice and Fire series during a month, because I had to read other books as well and I did not want to burden myself. So that was something that made it manageable for me. So basically it took me 7 months to get through these books. But while I would read one book during a particular month, say this is the first book, Game of Thrones, I used to read only 50 pages per day from these books, because they had small font, so even 50 pages were not that less, but they were not that many either, and the story was engaging, so the 50 pages did not feel that heavy to me. This is the first book and it has around 800 pages, so I was able to finish this one in 16 days. Now if you think about it, if you just look at this book, it might seem like you will never finish them, but if you think about it from the perspective of reading 50 pages per day, it's just 16 days. And this is one of the lengthier books in the series. There is another one that is a bit lengthier than this, that is 900 pages or so. And that one also you can finish in less than 20 days, which is not as much as you think about it. Because people tend to think that they can never finish these books. It's not like that. And another thing that a lot of people tend to forget, I don't know why, is that when they look at the length of the books, they somehow forget that these are fiction books. It's a story that you have to read. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to make a presentation on these books. You just have to enjoy the story that these books have. And that is not difficult at all. Just if you change your perspective a bit, you will realize that it's not difficult to get through these books. As I said before, they're definitely time consuming but not difficult to get through. Now, if you are one of those readers just like me who likes to read more than one book at a time, I'll say that while you are reading a book from A Song of Ice and Fire series, pick up a book that is a quicker, shorter read, and possibly a book that has a lighter subject, because then you will be able to read that one faster and it will have a positive impact on your mind, and you might even see that your speed increases while reading these big fat books from A Song of Ice and Fire series. So this was my video about A Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire series. I hope you found this video useful. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.